Blessed to be part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Our old friend Dan Stein of FAIR joining us. Dan, good to have you with us.
How are you, Kevin?
Well, every time I hear about the convoy and the caravan and everything else, I think of you and the great work that you've been doing for so many years. Your thoughts on what's going on the border, and Donald Trump is a very different president than his predecessors on this issue.
Well, of course, Donald Trump has inherited some problems, and he's trying his best to try to turn it around with a non-cooperative Congress and hostile elements in the judiciary. But he's been doing a heck of a job with the tools that he has. And, this whole process of asylum fraud and abuse has been building for a long time. In 1993, the Trade Center bombers, the first group, they all came in with fraudulent asylum claims. That's how Congress passed this credible fear standard, but apparently most people just lie their way through that now. And we have a situation where under the Obama administration, they just became so lax that the word went out, if you show up and you can take advantage of Dianne Feinstein's Wilberforce Act, that's the one that requires minor kids and people with minor kids, even if sometimes they're not really minors, be treated differently than they are single men looking for jobs. That's why traffickers have been able to exploit both the asylum law and the differing treatment for people who show up with minor children and orchestrated smuggling. So here we are at this point in our history with an administration that's trying to turn the ship around and saying, look, asylum law does not mean we just have to abandon any pretext of border control. If 5 million people show up tomorrow just demanding the right to come in here, and, it's not just our jobs that they want. They want to take advantage of all the programs we have. They want education for their kids. They want earned income tax credit. They want subsidized housing. It goes on and on and on. Baltimore has already sued the administration for their new regulations that say immigrants can't use welfare. So you get the idea here that this is not just, a matter of taxpayers paying for people who get procedural process when they make an asylum claim, but it's also paying for the detention to make sure they show up. And then when the detention space gets full, then we have to pay all this money to go find them when they don't show up for hearings, which many of them don't. And we're supposed to spend unlimited amounts of money trying to deport them or just give them the next amnesty because the Democrats see this whole thing as a big power grab.
Dan Stein joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio from FAIR. That's 107.5 FM, 580 AM. And yet we have people throwing rocks at the border agents, Donald Trump defending them. And I don't know if you caught the 5 last night, but Geraldo's flipping out that we're being inhumane. I guess we should just have our border patrol people just take it.
Well, that or we have to let Geraldo Rivera decide who's a refugee and who's not. The point is, the President of the United States has the authority and responsibility to control our borders. And people cannot use phony asylum claims en masse to just defeat the operations of border control. Just plain and simple, Kevin. If you don't have the ability to tell people, look, you can't just hop the fence and then make a phony asylum claim and expect to be here and work and get benefits for 5 years. I mean, what kind of a law is that? I mean, you have to look more objectively at the Democratic Party. All of us want to be sympathetic. We want to have fair treatment, but at the same time, we don't want to be chumps. We don't want to be taken advantage of. But the Democratic Party position at this point is essentially anybody who wants to should be able to come in, make a phony asylum claim, stay here for years. And they deal in this non-factual world of claiming, well, if they don't have a legitimate claim, they'll be deported and all. They don't ever get deported. 99% of the Central Americans who came in making asylum claims during the Obama administration are still here. And most of them who make the credible fear claim don't even show up to make the asylum claim before an immigration judge. Of those who do, they don't show up for their deportation hearing when the claim is denied. And somehow we're all supposed to pay all this money to go find them.
Right.
And of course, the Democrats don't want them to be found when they claim we're apprehending people who are here just because they're here illegally. Well, that's not humane. And so, they call it immigration reform. Comprehensive reform is essentially amnesty for everybody here illegally, and in return for that, meaningless, enforcement measures that aren't going to stop this stuff from recurring. I mean, come on, Kevin, why haven't the Republicans used the lame duck? Why don't they use a lame duck session to call together a group to fix asylum?
Well, Dan, let me clear your voice for a minute, and I'll reset everybody here, because that's a very good point that we're going to get to at 107.5 FM, 580 AM. KIDO Talk Radio, our great friend Dan Stein joining us from FAIR in Washington, D.C. on the Caravan and its impact on states like Idaho, Oregon, Montana, and Utah, right here in the Mountain West, if you will. Dan, let's get to Congress, because it's a lame duck. And one thing I give the libs, when they were on their way out, they passed everything, and yet you have this reluctance among the Paul Ryan crew of Republicans that are leaving anyway to do anything significant to aid the president.
Well, when the Democrats are were in the minority, they still seem to run Congress, because apparently the Republicans can't do anything without the consent of the Democrats. Democrats are already talking about their agenda, and they don't seem to be interested in trying to work with Republicans. They basically are going to just jam this stuff at anybody who's willing to listen, to try to score political points for the 2020 campaign. So what exactly is the agenda in the next Congress? Are the Republicans going to lead at any level? Are they going to try to deliver anything for President Trump? Because they didn't deliver anything of any consequence on the immigration front in 2 years when they had, quote, control of Congress. Now they have a bigger margin in the Senate, might be able to get some more sympathetic judges appointed to the bench, but they can't even, like in the lame duck session, come together on funding Trump's border wall. And as I say, they can't seem to come together and can put the Democrats on the defensive about the shambles of our asylum system. Having seen anybody who watched what happened in Europe in 2015, who saw Angela Merkel's comments be turned into millions of people marching into Italy and Greece and migrating to wherever country they wanted to live in, and then demanding the right to stay and benefits. I mean, he's lost total control of the process, and that's exactly what is being threatened here. And you'd think most Americans, and sure, we want to help people. We want to help people where they are, if we can, and certainly there's a lot of evidence worldwide that average income is going up and food security is improving and all kinds of things. And now we're in this situation where apparently, we're not allowed to tell people, look, if you're these countries would be a lot better off hanging on to their young people who are innovative and industrious and want to work and attract capital and building their economies, not encouraging them to leave in a cynical effort to try to get them to send hard currency back. And yet, suddenly Central American governments are all actively involved in like this complicity. Oh, let's see how many people we can get rid of. What kind of a government wants to get rid of its own people? We're not allowed to tell people, look, you have to come through a port of entry. It's about respect. I mean, Mexico's big on respect about its border. Remember? They say, oh, yeah, it's about respect. They got to control their border. Well, apparently they don't care if their southern border is respected. They let those Hondurans just march through the border, crash through their border, march through Mexico, this pretense of trying to stop things. They barely stopped anybody. And if Mexico's not going to have southern border security, I mean, that has profound implications, Kevin, for the security of our southern border. Wouldn't it? I mean, it would be great to be able to have like this long, unguarded border. But in the end, it's just like the Schengen Accord in the EU. They say the barrel is only as secure as the shortest staff. Is that what it's called? A staff? I forget the name. But anyway,
right.
There's another word for it, but the barrel is only going to hold so much water as the one plank that's the shortest. Okay. Well, if you have one country with leaky borders, like Turkey or Greece or what have you, Italy, and then the whole security of the whole thing is compromised. If Mexico's southern border is not secure, then obviously we got a big problem because, nobody believes that Guatemala and Honduras have secure borders, right?
Dan, let's talk a little bit, by the way, our great friend Dan Stein joining us from FAIR, Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Dan, what about the cartels and the human trafficking that goes on that is not reporting?
Well, of course, that's the whole problem here is that we, in fact, people like Senator Feinstein have created laws that are being exploited by the cartels. And, what we see in these caravans are people being manipulated, people who don't have the money to pay smugglers, people who are just without any money, resources of any kind, who then join these caravans looking for mutual security as they move through. But that shouldn't disguise the fact that at the same time, simultaneously, there are thousands of people coming through Mexico from various countries, not just Guatemala, Honduras, or Salvador, but from all over the world that are using smugglers to get through Mexico to get into the United States. And so, I mean, this is big business, Kevin. It's big business. Every time FAIR tries to make some progress here in Washington and trying to get this stuff under control, we've talked about this in the past, we run into this problem with the Western growers. And they do not seem to be on board this idea that the most important, effective, non-intrusive way of controlling illegal immigration is through the E-Verify program and making sure that all employers have to verify an alien's right to work in this country. And they held up the most important immigration legislation in the House, the so-called Good Lad bill that represented a lot of what Trump wanted, what we wanted, held it up because the growers just, they can't convince themselves that they can find Americans and pay them enough to do these jobs, which I think is awfully short-sighted, to put it mildly, given what's happening at our border now. And that there's lots of public support, of course. I mean, Trump has an obligation to deliver. The Republican Party has an obligation to deliver the basic elements of what Trump promised in 2016. And you have these folks like Ryan, McConnell. You have these Vichy Republicans, a lot of whom, by the way, got defeated. Bert Cabello from Florida, this guy Kevin Yoder from Kansas, a lot of these guys who were compromisers, who were trying to, carry the water for business. At the same time, in the lame duck, okay, the Republicans seem to have time in the House to push in this must-pass spending bill a measure that will increase the level of seasonal foreign workers coming in. Right? They're not going to deal with asylum fraud, right? They're not going to deal with funding the border wall. That's a big lift, but apparently they can find a way to increase the level of foreign workers coming into the country. And that tells you a lot about who's calling the tune there among the Republicans in the House.
Well, what's the solution, brother? We do hold the feet to the fire, which, you invite us each and every year. And by the way, let me tell you this. We had some folks trying to get me for going there. They accused me of being involved in a payola with you, Dan Stein. Do you believe that?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, at this point, there's well-orchestrated and well-financed opposition to all immigration control. I mean, the untold story of the immigration battle is how the Democratic Party, which was essentially kind of a pro-America, pro-union, control the borders political party through the whole 20th century, has now been increasingly taken over by radical socialists. I mean, you can see...
Sure.
All you have to do is read socialistworker.org and see that their immigration policy positions are now similar to the whole Democratic Party.
Wait a minute. There's a website, socialistworker.org?
Yeah, socialistworker.org. And there's an interesting article in a magazine, an e-zine called the American Affairs. It's called the Left Case Against Open Borders, which is essentially a traditional good government Democratic case for why you can't deliver good government services if you don't control your borders. It was in the American Affairs, November 20. Socialistworker.org put out a response yesterday, I guess, the case against open borders by a guy named Justin Akers Chacon. And this thing kind of lays out in what sounds like alarmist radical rhetoric what sounds remarkably similar to what Ocasio-Cortez and, frankly, Kamala Harris and a whole lot of other folks in the Democratic Party now routinely say. And you see this identity of overlap. And you think, oh, wow, are the Republicans just going to get pushed by big business further and further, into the arms of this kind of radical left-wing thinking? And why is that consistent with a sort of a pro-free market, free trade agenda? And you're not going to be able to maintain that among the body politic unless you find a way to manage and control immigration in order to, make people at the bottom of the economic ladder feel like they've got some mobility and, opportunity to move up.
Dan, we always appreciate it. If people want more information on FAIR, what can they do, sir?
Well, go to our website, fairus.org, fairus.org, and I'll just remind folks that I don't want to sound too negative. I mean, I know I sound it right now, but, we've all accomplished tremendous amount in the last 2 years. My gosh, with the Trump administration there, we have turned around almost everything the Obama administration has done. And while we have some frustrations with certain judges and obviously with the Congress's inaction, there has been enormous progress made, particularly at the administrative and executive level.
Thank you, Dan. Take care, brother.
Thank you, Kevin. Always a good time to talk to you.
All right, our great friend Dan Stein. Your thoughts next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Liberty Linda joins us now. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. What an excellent show you always have, but today is above excellent. Absolutely amazing. And to start with your book review with Michael Palermo, The Spy That Was Left Behind, I am going to buy that book. Wow.
That was pretty compelling stuff this morning, wasn't it?
Very compelling. And what an excellent interview that you gave him to get the information. Thank you so much for that, Kevin.
Well, thank you.
I want to say kudos to R&R.
He certainly had it broken down. So, Liberty Linda, we have the first daughter in the state. We're counting down the days when we get the president here, and you have some people that have issues with Ivanka Trump being here, which is, very crazy if you ask me.
What a lovely lady she is, and absolutely, she has nothing to do with anything wrong that she's done in the White House, and I'm sure that they can back that up. So I'm not worried about that portion of it, And it's the wonderful thing is that Donald Trump knows. We don't have to think, oh no, what's our president going to do? Because we kind of know he's going to protect us the way he was born for our time, I believe. Anyway, and I also believe in Dr. Corsi. I believe the true target is Roger Stone, if you know what I'm talking about, Kevin.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they've already tried to take down, our wonderful dear friend Alex Jones. And so, they're working one at a time, trying to take down the people that are getting the message out to us. And we can see these things. Like Tomlin said, we can connect the dots and see it's all global. And we can see what's going on in our nation with the start of Nancy Pelosi, with what's been going on in our voting, and now what's going on in our border. They're trying to absolutely take down the United States of America because we're the only ones that stand in the global, in their way.
Liberty Linda, great points. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for always your excellent shows. We love you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Liberty Linda joining us. Traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio.
Channel 7's Eric Everett.
And Kevin Miller in the morning here. KIDO Talk Radio. Ivanka Trump had a chance to sit down with Deborah Roberts. You remember Deborah Roberts? Maybe you don't. She's a reporter with ABC News. Well, Deborah's husband is actually Al Roker. So we've had both Al Roker and his wife here in the Treasure Valley in the last couple of months. Well, regardless of that, this big issue concerning Ivanka Trump and the emails and using a private email and people saying that it's the same thing as Hillary Clinton and the optics don't look good. Here's what it comes down to. If you believe in America, if you support the president, then you're happy that the first daughter came to Idaho and visited Wilder Elementary School. And Tim Cook of Apple, an Auburn grad, Auburn University in Alabama, attended Wilder. That's a big deal. And as I pointed out yesterday in the Miller Minute, heard during the Sean Hannity show in the afternoons here from 3 to 6 on KIDO Talk Radio, Obama's daughters came here, and I want to thank the listener that called Ray Amaya to correct me. They went skiing in Sun Valley. That's right, they went skiing in Sun Valley, and great, Obama and his kids can ski all they like. But one thing that we know, each and every day, one thing that you know, is it's all local. And for the people in Wilder, for the people in Idaho, how many times have we heard during the campaign, our education programs stink. We stink. We're horrible. The kids are bad. The teachers are horrible. The administrators are overpaid. And yet, here you have Ivanka Trump visiting Idaho education. I think that's a shot in the arm for everybody, all educators here in Idaho. We do that when we go to the schools. We'll be going to College of Idaho this week, thanks to Cap Ed Credit Union. We're going to be there. And we appreciate that, the opportunity to hear Not just to yap, but to hear, right? To make a difference. So coming up, ABC News in Wilder yesterday tried to grill the first daughter. You'll hear what she had to say about the emails, about Mueller, about everything else, and then we'll get your thoughts on this. Plus, in Meridian, we have one local lawmaker that wants to ban smoking in bars and public places. If you ban smoking, how about vaping? Isn't vaping much more serious of a health concern than smoking? And what it does to little kids, to little boys, to little girls? We'll discuss next. Kevin Miller, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, your home for Fox News in the Treasure Valley, where we occasionally go live to our great friends at the Fox News channel, the Big Fox, if you will. Tanya J. Powers joining us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
So here we have it. I don't know who the assignment editor is, but I guess you're the residential Southern expert. So obviously they pick you to talk a little bit about Chick-fil-A defending itself after being excluded by some type of private Yankee New Jersey university over its Christian values. Wow. Where do we begin?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack in that intro, by the way. Just a ton. Okay, I don't even know where to start now. Okay.
Well, they used to call me Mr. Run-On Sentence, so there we have it.
Is that what they called you?
A lot of things, yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is at Rider University, which is in Lawrence Township, New Jersey. That's north of Trenton, and they have this survey that they ask the students to fill out, and they ask them which restaurants they would like to have on campus. This year, they have taken Chick-fil-A off of the survey as one of the choices. They say that they've done this based on the company's record widely perceived to be in opposition to the LGBTQ community. That is a direct quote from the university. Chick-fil-A says it has no policy of discrimination against any group. They have planned at this university a campus forum to discuss this a little bit further, where I'm assuming the students will be able to give their opinions on this. If there's some that don't agree with not having it on the survey, that I guess this will be their opportunity to say so. I don't know that it will change their mind, but that's kind of where things are right now.
Wow. And particularly because of their Christian values, is that what they said?
Yes, because of as I said, the company's record widely perceived to be in opposition to the LGBTQ community. And
what has Chick-fil-A's reaction been, if any?
They say they don't discriminate against any group.
I see. Guess that's it for this story. You know what that means. What are we gonna do to fill some time here? I'm
sure you will come up with something.
Yeah, it's a tough one when I say that. I don't really have much, but it comes down to, I guess, the ever-changing values. Do university students have the right to say no, I suppose? And if you don't want Chick-fil-A, well, it's your loss, I guess.
Well, it's a private university, so, that's probably got something to do with it as well. They say that they understand the view that Rider says it understands that some may view the decision as a form of exclusion, but the school said they wanted to be faithful to their values of inclusion.
That's the weird thing is about Chick-fil-A is when you go there and all of a sudden you go, hey, thank you, and they go, instead of saying you're welcome, every one of them says my pleasure. And you go, really? Hey, thank you, my pleasure. It's like a code or something with those Chick-fil-A people.
I'm guessing it's part of the training.
I would see, and they have great training. I mean, they always have really wonderful customer service, but
yeah.
You ever notice that? They say my pleasure. They don't say, you're welcome, little buddy.
I never thought, well, I've never been called little buddy at the Chick-fil-A, but yeah, I mean, that's
right.
Actually not at most restaurants. It's certainly not here. Well, that's one of the things that, we noticed here when Chick-fil-A came to New York City. My big question was, are they going to be like they are everywhere else as far as the customer service? Because as you mentioned, I mean, they kind of go out of their way to.
They do.
above and beyond on the we're glad you're here, my pleasure sort of thing. It's
and
that's just one of the things they're known for.
And it is their pleasure, apparently. But,
and that's one of the things that it stayed when it got here. That's one of the things you see, which is quite the contrast, honestly, from a lot of places.
Well, when you're big time and you choose to live there, that's the trade-off. Life is about trade-offs.
Okay,
Tommy J. Power.
I caught that, by the way. That was nuts.
Well, it's true, right? You choose.
You just tried to bulldoze right on over that. I'm not going to let you.
You're
Sorry.
at the highest of the highs. You're at the pinnacle of your career. It doesn't go any higher than where you are, and yet, there are trade-offs. You don't get the all shucks good values that you have out here in God's country.
Well, actually, I do. It's just a block south of me, and it's all the sweet tea I can drink. So.
You weren't going to let me win that one, were you?
Nope, I wasn't.
Well, to be continued. Tanya J. Powers, we always appreciate you. Thank you for putting a smile on our face this morning.
Anytime. Thanks.
Thank you. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So, Ivanka Trump was in town. And I think that this is a great honor to the state of Idaho. In fact, I would hope and I would think that the state government should have declared it Ivanka Trump Day. Like I said, well, when's the last time the first daughters have been here? Well, the Obama kids, they went here to Sun Valley. Yeah, that's as visitors, but to work, to do something significant, right? That's what I'm talking about. So here is Ivanka Trump, and she didn't have time to talk to everybody. Well, she's the first daughter. I get it.
There's no teaching involved with it because the teachers have been asked to be hands off and let the kids learn and take charge of their own education. So basically teach themselves. And they're not able to do that, which is why our staff.
And then you have somebody angry about Ivanka Trump being here and saying it's all fraud. Well, you're right. Thank you for exposing what's going on in Wilder. Tim Cook was schnookered, Ivanka Trump was schnookered, and ABC News was schnookered.
It doesn't really make sense as to what they're doing here, and I think it's also using children as a photo op.
Sure, and if that were the case, wouldn't they have invited all the media outlets, all two of them in the state, to show up? Here is the ubiquitous Deborah Roberts interviewing Ivanka Trump, courtesy, mandatory credit of ABC News. By the way, she's Al Roker's wife. For those of you keeping score at home, let's take a listen. Remember, this is about the private emails. And oh my goodness gracious, she did the same thing as Hillary Clinton. Why isn't her daddy, our president, Donald Trump, saying, lock up Ivanka? Really? Is this all you have?
Violence. It has come to light that early in the administration, you used your private email for White House business. Your father had taken Hillary Clinton to task for this. So how did you wind up in a similar situation?
Well, there really is no equivalency. All of my emails that relate to any form of government work, which was mainly scheduling and logistics and managing the fact that I have a home life and a work life, are all part of the public record. They're all stored on the White House system. So everything's been preserved, everything's been archived. There just is no equivalency between the two things.
But people see it as the same.
People who want to see it as the same see it as the same. But the fact is that we all have private emails and personal emails to coordinate with our family. We all receive content to those emails, and there's no prohibition from using private email as long as it's archived and as long as there's nothing in it that's classified.
But your father hammered Hillary Clinton on this, said that it was criminal, she should be locked up.
Hillary Clinton is guilty. She knows it. The FBI knows it. The people know it.
In my case, all of my emails are on the White House server. There's no intent to circumvent. And there were mass deletions after a subpoena was issued. My emails have not been deleted, nor was there anything of substance, nothing confidential that was within them. So there's no connection between the two things.
So the idea of lock her up doesn't apply to you?
No.
Deborah Roberts has always been a fair reporter. I've always admired her over the years. But this media narrative has to stop. And by the way, if you get a chance to catch Dave Petzo's show this week, I had the opportunity to be on there with an hour with him, and we were talking about why it's so important that we have this radio station, 90 years old, Idaho's first, and being a voice for the local folks, being conservative, being a Republican, being proud of your country, being proud of where you live, and questioning things when they don't go the way they should be. And here you have the false media narrative, the fake news, if you will. Well, Ivanka Trump did it. No, Ivanka Trump was not the Secretary of State. Ivanka Trump was not a government official. Oh, it's the same thing. I can hear the libs around here in the broadcast center coming after me about this. No, it's not the same thing. And then you have Ivanka Trump didn't bleach bit, get hammers, try and withhold things. Ivanka Trump loves America. Hillary Clinton, as we know, was trying to obfuscate. She was trying to hide. And if we're going to investigate the president over the Russians, why not investigate Hillary over the Russians and the uranium? Where's the fairness there? But what they're counting on is people not like you. They're counting on people that get their news from, hi, everybody, welcome to Facebook, where conservatives are vilified and run and tried to be ruined. That's what they're counting on. And fortunately, we have this time together. That's why I love the KIDO Talk Radio app. You can take us anywhere. Give it to your friends. It's free. And let them hear it. As, again, we have a huge following in Salt Lake City. And, you know, our goal is to service the people here, whether it's eventually regionally, nationally, or what have you. But our home is here in the Treasure Valley at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Now, people say, well, East Idaho would love what we do here. Well, we'll see. We'll see that we're always in talks of expanding our presence. But back here, when you hear Ivanka Trump, she didn't dodge the question. It shows you what we're up against with the media. And speaking of the media, thanks to Mark Johnson at Channel 7. Hey, Mark, I hope you're listening. I know you can sometimes flip the dial sometimes. Just kidding. But he asked Micron's bigwig that I guess the guy lives in California. Yeah, the guy who heads Micron, he lives in California. And he visited the troops here. Because Micron does a lot of charitable work. Look, we're not bashing Micron, but on the other hand, we're going to hold them accountable if they're not going to have a major presence here. To me, if this is your home, this is where you expand your presence. Well, Kevin, in California, they have a lot of people in Silicon Valley. Yeah, and they're all moving here. Well, there's a lot of things to do in Virginia. That's great if you want to go see Colonial Williamsburg, but your home is here. Well, the Taiwanese, they're right next to the Chinese. Yes, and the Chinese steal the technology. This is where you need to be. So we'll get into that. We got a lot going on today. Hey, I'd love you to join the conversation, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And coming up next, for entertainment purposes only, but it really happened, Geraldo loses it. You'll want to hear this next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And fighting for your rights each and every day. Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So here we have something in the news concerning Meridian. We've got a lot of people, apparently, they're a little upset. There's a new proposal now that would ban the smoking, being proposed by Luke Kavanagh, a very popular young man who has been on the city council for a long time. I believe we've had him on. We see his signs. He works very hard. But according to the statesman here, following Boise and county cities and countless cities across the country, Meridian City Councilman is proposing a citywide ban on smoking in businesses open to the public and within 20 feet of the buildings. Most newer bars and restaurants do not permit smoking indoors. So, if you run a downtown bar in Meridian that have allowed smoking for many, many years, you might have an issue. Now, again, Kate Tellerico from The Statesman wrote this. A 2004 law states already bars that have indoor smoking in most public places and in public meetings can have that, but exempts bars and businesses that either don't serve the public or have 5 or fewer employees. So here we have it. Is this really necessary to ban the smoking, considering how many people really smoke? Now, You want to get serious about lung disease, lung cancer, and everything else? Maybe it's time to look at the vaping. Isn't that unnerving when you see that? Then again, who does it harm? Shouldn't we have a right to do what we want? We'll get into that next hour. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. That's a great idea. Traffic and weather together on 107.5 FM.
Just Channel 7's Every Gabbard.
Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. So, back to the debate about the caravan, and do we have a right, do we have a duty, do we have an obligation to let the people in? Because, let's face it, it's a humanitarian issue. Geraldo Rivera on Fox News' The Five. And remember, when you hear Fox News on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio. Take it away, Geraldo.
Refuse to deal with this as a media issue because it's far too important. With all due respect, Jesse, this is something that goes to the very quick. This goes to my soul.
Right. But that's how the audience is
fulfilling my role as the designated piñata on Fox News. I want to say
that's racist.
I am ashamed. This tear gas choked me. We treat these people, these economic refugees, as if they're zombies from The Walking Dead. I think we arrested 42 people. 8 of them were women with children. We have to deal with this problem humanely and with compassion. These are not invaders. Stop using these military analogies. This is absolutely painful to watch. We are a nation of immigrants. These are desperate people. They walk 2,000 miles. Why? Because they want to rape your daughter or steal your lunch? No, because they want a job. They want to fill the millions of unfilled jobs we have in the agricultural sector. They want to wash dishes in the restaurants. They want to deliver the pizzas. For goodness sake, we suspend our humanity when it comes to this issue, and I fear that it is because they look different than the man.
Geraldo, can I respond?
And there we have it. They didn't look like they wanted to wash dishes when they were busting down the wall or when they were climbing over the wall. And yet here you have Geraldo going on and on and on. The Border Patrol, the military, they have a right to protect themselves, Geraldo.
The poorest people in the hemisphere living next door to the richest nation on earth.
Well, does that mean if you live next to a rich neighborhood that the people that have earned it, the people that have continued to contribute to the society, they have a debt to help the poor neighborhood? Well, if they want to, yes. But you have these folks rushing the border, throwing rocks. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not very neighborly, is it?
Their children are hungry.
There has to be a process.
Of course there has to be a process, but we need a process that recognizes that they are part of our continent. We can pay attention to our neighbors, for goodness sake. How have we destabilized these governments over the decades? Look at the
Geraldo, you're going to...
There we have it. So Geraldo's mad. And do we have a duty to help these folks coming in? Look, I think most of us do help people. And in Idaho, we're what, number 2 to Utah when it comes to charitable donations, charitable giving, charitable time? And yet that's not good enough. You take a look at our prison systems, as Lars Larson's pointed out. How many people in our jails are here illegally? And based on that percentage of the population that we're paying for. Or the schools and everything else. Everything comes at a cost. If everything was free, it's great. They have nothing to lose. But let's face it, this is a good move. And by the way, did you know that Barack Obama tear-gassed folks on the border once a month? Now, the ever-corrupt Mexican government, they've released a statement that they're going to investigate the tear-gassing. Where was the media coverage of Obama tear-gassing the people trying to invade the country? Right? But where were they? And by the way, you take it the illegals, they've continued to get in spite of this. That's why we need the wall. We'll talk about it next. Coming up next, climate change, California fires, and what it means to you as we get ready for fire season next summer. Getting you prepared. Kevin Miller, good morning.